Hello everyone, Walk Hill Bethelite here. I want to talk a little bit about Jehovah's Witnesses and what I like to phrase as counterfeit kindness. Remember that phrase, counterfeit kindness, because probably the majority of us have got relatives who are Jehovah's Witnesses that don't speak to us. Or if they do speak to us, they seldom speak to us. They hardly put any effort into reaching out. And this is not uncommon. I've got tons of relatives who are Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, how often do they check on, let's say me, for example, as a member of their family? Hardly ever, right? But as we all know, they like to go knock on doors and stand next to carts. I'm in here with Serenity. I'm not going to show her right now. She's enjoying some cuisine.
Just tell them all the stuff in my face.
But Serenity has also got family that are Jehovah's Witnesses who don't speak to her. How is it this frequent, this often? It should be far and in between to have relatives that aren't speaking to each other if Jehovah's Witnesses really are a loving brotherhood. Well, it all goes back to what I was phrasing before. Counterfeit kindness. How hard is it really to knock on a stranger's door and ask them if they want a magazine? It's not that hard. It really isn't that hard. How hard is it to stand next to a cart and very likely not talk to anybody? You just stand next to a cart and watch to see if somebody takes a magazine or a book off of that cart. Very easy, right? And as we all know, Jehovah's Witnesses don't get involved with charities. They're not out trying to build shelter for the homeless. Name the charity. There isn't one, right? They're not out trying to help feed the hungry. They're not out building hospitals to help the sick. The only thing that they do and that they're known to do is knocking on doors. Counterfeit kindness is when the kindness is primarily focused on total strangers, but their own family they barely talk to. It's counterfeit kind. The reason why I phrase it that way is because I remember growing up as a Jehovah's Witness. And growing up, we had family issues. We had people in our family who did not see eye to eye. We had people in our family who didn't get along. And oftentimes, these issues were not resolved. These are people who just refuse to see the other person's point of view, refuse to have any kind of understanding as to where the other person was coming from. But as long as they underline the answer to a question in a watchtower, these people think that they're Christian. It's ludicrous. It's complete ridiculousness. Knocking on somebody's door, asking them if they want to read some paragraphs in a book while you ask the question at the bottom of the paragraph and wait for them to answer is not hard. This is counterfeit kindness. It's what Jehovah's Witnesses do. It's what they put on their website. If you look at their website, you got pictures of Jehovah's Witnesses standing next to carts smiling, knocking on doors in different countries. But if you were raised in this religion, you know most of that's fake. Most of the quote unquote kindness has to do with total strangers. When a Jehovah's Witness goes to an international convention, you guys remember the international conventions? When a Jehovah's Witness goes to an international convention and they come back impressed, right? Why do they come back impressed? Because they went to a convention, let's say in a different country, and they saw total strangers from these different countries come together and get along for a short period of time, however long that convention is. Do you know how easy that is? All these strangers, for the most part, have issues, most likely in their families, that they don't resolve. The main solution for Jehovah's Witnesses in dealing with family issues is shunning, just not talking to the person. Just giving up, essentially, on the person is their go-to solution in dealing with family issues. But when it comes to total strangers at an international convention, Jehovah's Witnesses think they are God's chosen people because they sat next to a total stranger for a few hours. It's counterfeit. It's easy. Jehovah's Witnesses highlight the easy stuff, but when it's hard, when you're dealing with a family member is somebody you are in the same house with. It's not somebody you sit next to at a convention for a couple of hours. You're so impressed you got along for a couple of hours. A family member is somebody that you oftentimes live in the same house with or live in close proximity to over the course of years. And over the course of that period of time, a lot of different things can happen. A lot of different differences. One difference is religion. One major difference Jehovah's Witnesses tend to have with people in their families is religion. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses want people to join their religion because, for obvious reasons. It's a religion that they like, they agree with, and they want all their relatives to do whatever it is they like and they agree with. If a relative wants to be a Catholic or a Baptist or Pentecostal or no religion at all, that Jehovah's Witness relative has to consider their decision to not join the Jehovah's Witnesses, because they know if they don't join the religion or stay in the religion, what's going to happen? Their family is going to shun them, stop talking to them, or otherwise just give up on them. Why? Because they ain't doing what they want them to do. How hard is it to get along with people who do whatever you want them to do? How difficult is it to deal with diversity? People of different religions, people of different viewpoints, different opinions. That's difficult, right? I say all the time that Jehovah's Witnesses are not good people. If they were, why aren't they in any of the homeless shelters helping out? Why aren't they helping with any of the feeding programs for the hungry? They don't care about none of that. Most of them don't care about their own families. Why? Family's hard. That's the honest truth. That is the honest truth is that Jehovah's Witnesses shun family because family's hard. Total strangers, being nice to them for a little while, that's easy. I'll give you an example. I grew up in a household of Jehovah's Witnesses. I grew up, I was giving talks in the school probably when I was like 7 or 8 years old. I had to stand on a stool to be able to look over the podium to be able to give talks. I've been a member of that, or I was a member of that horrible cult since childhood. And even as a child, when I would get back home from school and I was having issues, it didn't matter if I was having issues with struggling with homework. It didn't matter if I was having issues with somebody picking on me in school. It didn't matter if I was having issues with a teacher. My whole family were Jehovah's Witnesses and none of them cared. I remember coming home and telling my whole family because I was so upset. I was having issues with people in school. They were picking on me. I know now that the reason why is because I was so different. Whenever there were holiday celebrations, I'd be off in the library. Whenever there were other things going on, I couldn't really participate because I stuck out different. So of course, that's going to bring some negative attention. Well, I come back home having issues with this. Jehovah's Witnesses love to print articles in their watchtower showing families sitting together, being understanding and talking over about things. That's not how that happens. That's not what happens. What happens is you go home as a kid, tell your family that you're getting picked on. They just look at you and then they go back and look back down at their watchtower and keep underlining. Because it's foreign to the entire culture and religion of Jehovah's Witnesses to actually be proactive in trying to care for family unless you have to. And you have to if this relative is having an issue that's public to the congregation. So if I was in a car accident and broke my leg, other people in the Kingdom Hall, they're going to see me in a cast. And if my family's not helping me get in my seat in the Kingdom Hall and get back and forth from door to door, the other members of the congregation will see that. So yes, they'll try to help then. But if I'm having issues in school, which happened, this is a true story, and I come back home, and this is an issue that nobody in the congregation would know about, they focus on completing their watchtower because it's more important for them to get to the Kingdom Hall and look like they're knowledgeable and they're answering all the questions and they're participating in the meeting. Another example, a lot of Jehovah's Witness men complain about appointments. When I talk about appointments, I'm talking about primarily ministerial servant and elder. Not so much pioneer, auxiliary pioneer. I'm talking about ministerial servant and elder. A lot of the guys complain about that. The reason why is because their primary focus is obtaining one of those titles. If they are not a ministerial servant, they're trying to get the title of ministerial servant. And a lot of what they do in the congregation and in front of people is solely for the purpose of getting that title. Solely for the purpose of looking good to get that title. Once they become a ministerial servant, a lot of brothers, a lot of men want to get the title of elder next. What happens if they don't get that title? What happens if a person doesn't get the title of ministerial servant or elder? Do they just continue being kind to people? No. A lot of them become angry. A lot of them become upset. A lot of them start complaining in the congregation about not being used enough, not getting any talks, not getting any parts, right? I remember growing up, most of the discussion with a lot of men was about appointments and parts and talks and parts at the assembly and assignments. None of the talk, none of it was about this poor brother or this poor sister who is sick and going to visit that person. Or none of the talk was about such and such a relative, a family member, and how they can't give a part, they can't give this talk because helping their relative who's sick is more important. All of us know 99.9% of Jehovah's Witnesses, if they have a talk and a relative is sick, that relative is just going to be at home by themselves because they're going to give that talk. They want to get up in front of people and try to look good. You can comment down below and you let me know what Jehovah's Witnesses are known for doing that we would consider a kindness that doesn't fall under the category that I'm talking about of counterfeit kindness. Just kindness to total strangers. It's easy. I can do it. I can do it right now. I can get out right now and open somebody's door and they're going to, oh, thank you. It's easy. It don't take a whole lot of effort. But when it comes to dealing with family issues, I grew up in a Jehovah's Witness family, and for the most part, everybody in probably half the family has all gotten shunned at some point in time. And the reason is because we all go through things in life, and the way Jehovah's Witnesses deal with those things is talking to the person, and if they don't figure it out, if everything in their life isn't reflecting what Watchtower wants, what Jehovah's Witnesses want, immediately when they want it, they're going to shun them, they're going to give up on them, they're going to wash their hands of them. And they call that loving. I'm telling you, everything Jehovah's Witnesses do that they call loving or kindness is counterfeit love or counterfeit kindness. It ain't even hard to give a part at the meeting. How hard is it if you give me a topic to discuss and the topic is like 5 minutes or 15 minutes or 10 minutes for me to get up in front of people and talk for 10 or 15 minutes? It's not hard. Most of what Jehovah's Witnesses do is not hard. Now, this is the caveat though. Jehovah's Witnesses tend to be some of the most the word for it escapes me. They have zero understanding for other people, other religions. They call other religions Babylon the Great, negative terms. They call the government in general ruled by Satan. Anything that doesn't totally agree with them is the devil, right? Now, reverse it. Let's say a government like Russia doesn't agree with Jehovah's Witnesses, and the government essentially shuns Jehovah's Witnesses, or they take back their support. They're not supporting that anymore. They're not allowing that to be legal, right? It's the government, they rule that entire country. So if they say something is legal, they're giving their support. If they say it's illegal, they're removing their support. If Russia removes their support from Jehovah's Witnesses, just like Jehovah's Witnesses remove their support from me or from Serenity or from the vast majority of people who disagreed with their religion, they cry bloody murder. Boo-hoo! Oh, get it my way. They can't take the same treatment they give other people. I had to drink some of that green boba. They cry bloody murder. They say that they're persecuted. If a government doesn't agree with them, and the government essentially makes their life harder by shunning them as far as legality, legally shunning them, making them illegal, cry bloody murder, boo, we're persecuted.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking too, that whole concept of they can't dish out, they want to dish stuff out but can't take it. Watchtower is literally on a rampage trying to shut down basically whistleblowers, XJWs, apostates as they call them. Now they have ran us, our names, our reputations, everything through the mud. But we're telling the truth about their cult. And now they can't take it. They want to shut people down. They want to get them for copyright, this and that, and everything else. So it goes from the top. Not just the individuals, but Watchtower itself cannot handle being criticized when they are the #1 organization that criticizes everything and everyone else. From religions to the government to everything. So really it is hypocritical. They want to act a certain way. Once again, remember that golden rule. Treat others as you want them to treat you. So Watchtower doesn't even follow that. They want to be treated a certain way, but when it comes to them being treated the exact same way, they want to be exempt from it. So it's just something to think about. I find it very comical. But we all know why Watchtower's doing it now, because everything is coming to light. I mean, everything. So they're desperate. They're trying to clean up all their little fires, but it's a raging fire. So what they're doing is really in vain. They're just making their own people who have still a shred of critical thinking skills to wake up and leave. So good job, Watchtower. That's all I have to say. I hope you guys are doing well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I 100% agree. I've got relatives who I've called because I haven't heard from them in years. And what do they say? Oh, I'm cleaning the Kingdom Hall. You know what I mean? Because they think dusting in the Kingdom Hall is kindness, is goodness. But they don't check on their own relatives. Or I'm bringing a sister some food or a brother some food. Have their own relatives eaten? They don't even know. It's easy to bring food to a total stranger and then drop it off and leave. You don't have to deal with anything. It's hard to raise kids and deal with the differences and the struggles. It's hard to be in marriages. You know what I mean? I've got relatives that are elders and they on their third wife. Obviously, it's hard because they struggling with it, right? But they want to criticize everybody else. Well, if they're living with somebody, they want to criticize them. If they have a different sexual orientation, they want to criticize them. But a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses have horrible marriages. I've literally been told that a sister told a man that she was married to that she should have married someone else because that other person became a circuit overseer and her current husband was not an elder. I was literally told that, and he told me he could never forget that. There's certain things a person can say that you just can't take back, and it can never be the same. He said he could never forget that. That's how cold-hearted these people are. They don't care about anything but titles and about looking good in front of strangers. But when it comes to their own families, they are famous for shunning, for not speaking to their own relatives. So remember the phrase, counterfeit kindness. It is easy to do good for total strangers because it takes all of a little bit of time and you don't have to deal with any real problems. But family is more difficult. But Jehovah's Witnesses like to take the easy road. Remember that phrase, because when when elders come over to talk to you, discuss that with them. Discuss how it's so easy for them to knock on complete strangers' doors and pass out magazines. But ain't nobody checked up on you. Ain't nobody called you. You've been sick and nobody brought you anything. You got people in your family who are elderly and ain't nobody helping you take care of them. Those things are harder. But when it comes to real kindness and real love and real understanding and working through things, Jehovah's Witnesses are absent. So remember the phrase, counterfeit kindness. What that is doing things for total strangers, which is easy. It don't take long. It's not hard to stand next to a car. It ain't hard to knock on somebody's door. And for the most part, people don't answer, so they just walk away or leave a magazine inside the crevice of a door. That ain't hard. Putting magazines in a laundromat ain't hard. But when it comes to dealing with family, dealing with issues, the number one go-to for Jehovah's Witnesses is giving up on them, shunning them, and calling that loving. Let somebody give up on Jehovah's Witnesses and make it illegal or something like that. And like Serenity said, oh my God, they're going to scream bloody murder, right? So it's unbelievable. Me and Serenity just got back from a nice walk. We got Bernie back here, over here chilling, chillaxing. And we're about to get back to our day. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening. X-Wall Kill Bethelite signing out.